Today we have important news about Poppy Playtime, an unexpected hack involving a member of Mob Entertainment, the latest Chapter 5 updates, and a new update that could be hinting at the release of Poppy Playtime 6. All of these signs have pushed the community to look once again toward the future of the saga. Over the last few days, several things have happened that separately might seem small, but together they start to form a very interesting picture. First, one of the most well-known artists connected to Poppy Playtime, Amber Lovesbugs, suffered a pretty serious hack. Second, SteamDB once again showed recent movements in Poppy Playtime files and packages. And third, a release tracking website is already placing Poppy Playtime Chapter 6 within an expected 2027 release window. But before anyone gets too excited, be careful. This does not mean Mob has officially announced Chapter 6, and it does not mean we have an exact release date. What we have are signs, movement, and context, and that is exactly what we are going to break down today. Let's start with the strongest topic. Over the last few days, several fans began reporting that Amber Lovesbugs, an artist and animator connected to Mob Entertainment, had been hacked. Amber is not just anyone in the community. Her work has been connected to Poppy Playtime through art, animation, designs, and visual material that many fans recognize. And according to the posts that were circulating, the hack affected several important accounts, including Discord, YouTube, Twitter/X, and her main Google account. This is delicate because when an official artist's account or the account of someone close to a studio gets compromised, it does not only affect that person, it can also confuse the entire community. Suddenly, strange links can appear, weird messages can be sent, names can be changed, videos can be deleted, or posts can appear that the person never actually made. In fact, part of the warning that circulated was very clear. Do not click on links coming from her Discord if they seem suspicious, and here is the part that made the most noise in the community. Apparently, according to what fans have been discussing, everything may have started because of a Minecraft file that someone maliciously sent her. But this has to be said carefully. That part is currently being treated as a community version of events. What has been publicly confirmed is that her accounts were compromised and that she was trying to recover access to YouTube, Discord, Twitter/X, and Google. So if you see strange messages, suspicious links, or posts supposedly coming from Amber, be careful. Not because Amber did anything wrong, but because when an account gets hacked, anyone can use it to trick other people. And this also leaves a lesson for the entire Poppy Playtime community. Do not download strange files, do not open things sent by unknown people, and especially do not trust files disguised as mods, maps, textures, or Minecraft-related content. In gaming communities, those things can look harmless, but many times that is exactly how people try to steal accounts. Now, does this have a direct connection to Poppy Playtime Chapter 6? Not necessarily, but it is still important news surrounding the circle of artists and creators connected to Mob Entertainment, and that is why the community paid so much attention to it. Now let's move on to the second sign, SteamDB. Over the last few days, recent movements have been seen in Steam's database related to Poppy Playtime, and as always, we need to explain this properly so we do not exaggerate anything. SteamDB is not an official Mob Entertainment page. It is a tool that tracks public Steam information such as updates, packages, depots, builds, prices, and internal store changes that are visible from the outside. And here is the interesting part. Poppy Playtime Chapter 5 had recent movement on SteamDB. The Chapter 5 depot appears with a recent public update, and there are also recent manifest records. On top of that, the Chapter 5 package also had movement near the end of June. Does this mean Chapter 6 is already on Steam? No. Does it mean there is a hidden trailer? We cannot say that either. But it does mean that Mob or the team connected to publishing the game is still touching things on Steam's technical side. It could be maintenance, adjustments, corrected files, compatibility updates, size changes, offer preparations, or simply normal package management. The key is not to exaggerate. Not every movement on SteamDB is a teaser, but when we are talking about a saga like Poppy Playtime, any recent change after the release of Chapter 5 makes fans start looking very closely. And there is another detail. Previous chapters have also had package or record movements. Chapter 4, Chapter 5, and other DLCs have shown recent or relatively recent changes on SteamDB. This could have to do with the way Steam organizes DLCs, sales, or updates. But the important point is this: the saga is not asleep. Even if Mob has not come out and said, Chapter 6 is close, the technical activity still exists. And now we arrive at the cherry on top of the video, the possible release date. On releases.com, Poppy Playtime Chapter 6 appears with an expected release window for 2027, and this has made many fans start wondering if that could really be the year when we finally see the next big chapter of the story. But be very careful with this part. Releases.com is not Mob Entertainment. It is not an official confirmation. It is not a direct announcement from the studio. The page marks it as an expected date, not as a date revealed by the developers. So why does it matter? Because even though it is not official, it helps us understand what window part of the community and some tracking websites are starting to consider. And if we connect this with the release history of Poppy Playtime, the idea of Chapter 6 arriving in 2027 does not sound impossible. Chapter 3 came out in 2024, Chapter 4 arrived in 2025, Chapter 5 released in 2026. So if Mob follows a relatively similar timeline, 2027 would be a logical window for the next chapter. But again, logic does not mean confirmation. The most responsible way to say it would be this. We do not have an official release date for Poppy Playtime Chapter 6, but there are signs that the machine is still moving. There is technical activity on SteamDB, external pages are placing the game in an expected 2027 window, and the community is still watching closely for any clue that might appear. And this matters because after the ending of Chapter 5, expectations for Chapter 6 are huge. Many fans want to know if it will be the final chapter, if we will see the true conclusion of the prototype story, what will happen to Poppy, what will happen to the player, and whether some characters who seemed lost could return in some way. But for now, the most honest conclusion is this. There is no official announcement for Chapter 6. There is no confirmed exact release date. There is no solid proof that the SteamDB movements are new content. But there is movement, there is conversation, there is activity around the saga, and there is a possible 2027 window that is starting to sound stronger and stronger. And meanwhile, the most urgent news for the community is to be careful with hacked accounts, suspicious links, and files that promise mods or maps that seem too good to be true. Because sometimes important news does not come from a trailer or a hidden image or a strange teaser. Sometimes it comes from small movements that remind us something is still happening behind the scenes. And before we close, there is one detail many fans are starting to notice, and it could be more important than it seems: Killy Willy. For those who do not remember, Killy Willy was one of the most recognizable characters from Project Playtime, practically one of the faces of the game at the time. And recently, a second record connected to this character was detected, something that has raised a lot of suspicion within the community. Because this is where things get interesting. When a character was already registered before and then appears again in a new record, it usually does not feel like a coincidence. In many cases within the industry, these kinds of movements can point to a character being reused, rights being renewed, or even preparation for future projects. And if we connect this with everything else, the theory starts to take shape. Could this be a sign that Project Playtime is not completely dead? Could Mob be preparing some kind of return, a major update, or even a new version of the game? There is no official confirmation, but the fact that Killy Willy is appearing again in records after being such a key figure in the original Project Playtime is making many fans think that something could be cooking in the background. Maybe it is not an immediate return, maybe it is not an announcement that is coming soon, but it definitely does not feel like a random movement. So now the question is double. Do you think Poppy Playtime Chapter 6 will really come out in 2027? And do you think Project Playtime could return in the future thanks to signs like this Killy Willy movement? If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more Poppy Playtime news and leave that powerful like, because as soon as a new sign appears, we are going to analyze it here.